Really rich? Elon Musk reveals the secret nobody teaches in school. What if everything you learned about money was wrong? What if the real secret to becoming truly wealthy isn't about having a fat bank account, a fancy degree, or working tirelessly from 9 to 5? In this video, we dive into the untold truth that Elon Musk himself revealed, something they never teach you in school, but that shapes the lives of the truly rich. Stay with us, because what you'll learn here might just change the way you see money forever. If you're serious about transforming your financial reality, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey begins now. From the first day we enter school, we're taught a very specific narrative about success. Work hard, get good grades, go to college, find a stable job, and slowly climb the ladder until one day, retirement arrives with just enough in your pension to enjoy life. But Elon Musk challenges this model. He calls it an outdated simulation, an illusion built by those who benefit from a population that remains just informed enough to be productive, but never truly free. Growing up in Pretoria, South Africa, Elon was already asking questions that most adults refuse to ask. Why is education so obsessed with memorization? Why are we not taught how to build, to question, to dream outside the box? These questions weren't just philosophical, they were foundational. They reveal that the school system wasn't built to create visionaries. It was built to create compliant employees. And that's where the illusion begins. The problem isn't that schools fail to teach about money, it's that they actively reinforce a mindset that repels wealth. Most students go through 12 to 16 years of formal education without learning a single practical thing about investing, entrepreneurship, or the psychology of wealth. Instead, they're handed standardized tests and told to compete for grades like tokens in a game they never designed. Elon often points out that the richest individuals in the world didn't follow this blueprint. He didn't become a billionaire by perfecting calculus homework. He became one because he questioned everything, especially the rules of the game. Schools train people to obey systems, but real wealth comes from understanding, hacking, and sometimes rebuilding those systems. When Elon dropped out of Stanford after just 2 days, it wasn't because he lacked ambition. It was because he had a vision that couldn't wait to be validated by a diploma. Let's take a deeper look at this systemic illusion. Think of the student who excels in school, wins scholarships, earns multiple degrees, and lands a respectable job, only to realize years later that they're living paycheck to paycheck. They followed the rules, but the rules didn't lead to freedom. Elon argues that real wealth has nothing to do with job titles or certificates. It's about leverage. It's about ownership. It's about creating value at scale, not trading hours for dollars. Yet schools teach none of that. Instead, they condition minds to fear failure, avoid risk, and conform. The truly wealthy embrace failure as feedback. They see risk as opportunity, and they build systems that pay them while they sleep. That's the secret Elon began uncovering early, and the one we'll be exploring in depth throughout this journey. If this is hitting home, pause for a second. Leave a comment below. They never taught me this in school. Let's keep going. For most people, the concept of wealth is shaped by what they see around them. Family, teachers, media, culture. It becomes a pattern so ingrained that questioning it feels almost rebellious. But Elon Musk never quite fit the mold. From a young age, he displayed what many mistook for defiance, but was actually deep curiosity. He wasn't just asking what, he was constantly asking why and why not. While other kids were memorizing multiplication tables, Elon was diving into complex books on physics and computer science, often far beyond his age level. His first major leap came when he taught himself computer programming at just 10 years old. By age 12, he had sold his first software, a space-themed game called Blastar. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was playing with ideas, challenging assumptions, and already thinking in systems not steps. This is the very essence of rewiring the mind for wealth. Stop thinking linearly and start thinking exponentially. What separates Elon from millions of bright minds isn't just intelligence. It's how he framed the world. Most people see obstacles and stop. Musk sees constraints and starts asking how to remove them or bypass them entirely. In school, students are punished for making mistakes. In Musk's world, failure is essential. Data. It's information. When he founded Zip2, he had no experience in the publishing industry. When he built XCOM, which became PayPal, he wasn't a banking expert. When he launched SpaceX, he had never built a rocket. These decisions weren't made out of arrogance. They came from a deep understanding that knowledge can be learned, but courage must be chosen. Wealth creation doesn't start with a bank account. It starts with mindset. And the moment Musk realized he didn't need permission to build, he became unstoppable. He rewired his thinking away from dependency and into innovation. But this transformation didn't happen in a vacuum. Elon was shaped by books, mentors, and relentless testing of ideas. He studied the greats, not just inventors, but thinkers like Benjamin Franklin, Einstein, and even fictional characters like the heroes of Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. He used first principles thinking, a method where you boil things down to their most fundamental truths and reason up from there. Let's illustrate. If traditional logic says rockets are too expensive, Musk asks, what are the materials needed to build a rocket? Then he calculates their cost. Turns out it's a fraction of what manufacturers charge. That's how SpaceX was born. This isn't just clever, it's revolutionary. It's a way of seeing opportunity where others see limits. If you want to become truly wealthy, start by questioning what you think is permanent. Because most of what we accept as truth is just outdated agreement. Hit that like button if this is sparking new thoughts in your mind, and stay with us, because the transformation is just beginning. Every great vision comes with a price. The world often celebrates success, but it tends to ignore or outright reject the process behind it. When Elon Musk began to pursue his ideas beyond what was considered reasonable, he wasn't hailed as a genius. He was mocked, doubted, and ridiculed. Investors told him rockets were a billionaire's vanity project. Engineers warned him that reusable space travel was a fantasy. The press labeled him reckless. Even some close friends urged him to settle down, cash out, and stop dreaming so big. But visionaries don't seek comfort. They chase conviction. Musk's path was never paved with applause. It was carved through resistance, and that resistance was everywhere. When he put his own money into SpaceX and Tesla, risking financial ruin, people didn't see courage. They saw a man losing his mind. But what they missed was that Musk wasn't motivated by money. He was driven by meaning, and meaning demands sacrifice. Few people realize the depths of those sacrifices. Musk has openly admitted to sleeping on the floor of Tesla's factory during production crises. Not in a lavish office or hotel suite, on the floor, between machines and noise, working around the clock. He was physically and emotionally exhausted, but he never stopped. Why? Because the mission mattered more than his comfort. He once said, "I didn't go into the aerospace business to make money. I went in to make it possible for life to exist on other planets." That's not business talk. It's legacy talk, and it comes with pain. During Tesla's darkest days, Musk was so broke he had to borrow money from friends to pay rent. He invested every last dollar he had into his companies. He took on enormous personal stress, including public scrutiny, failed launches, and a near-total collapse of his ventures in 2008. Most people would have walked away. Musk doubled down. That is the hidden cost of real wealth, betting on yourself when no one else will. But the loneliness that accompanies visionary pursuit is just as punishing as the risk. While others celebrate weekends, Musk's life became An unending series of meetings, problem-solving sessions, and critical decisions. Relationships suffered, marriages ended, his time with family became fragmented. Critics say this is the cost of ego, but they miss the core truth. Changing the world requires obsession. It requires a willingness to be misunderstood for years, sometimes decades. And wealth, real wealth, often grows in silence, behind closed doors, sleepless nights, and whispered doubts. Musk didn't build his empire by chasing trends. He built it by enduring rejection over and over again without letting it redefine him. And that's the part schools never teach, the emotional stamina it takes to be different. If you're still here watching, you're not like everyone else. Comment below, I choose the hard path. Because this journey is just getting started, and the next part will open your eyes even further. While most people learn to live within the boundaries of the world as it is, Elon Musk does the opposite. He treats reality as negotiable. For Musk, reality is not a fixed stage, but a sandbox. Every limitation is a suggestion, not a law. When he looks at the world, he doesn't see what is. He sees what could be. This mindset isn't just about optimism. It's engineering at the highest level, mental engineering. To Elon, ideas are blueprints, and the mind is the architect. He envisions alternate realities and then reverse engineers the steps to bring them into existence. But to rebuild reality, you must first dismantle the existing framework, and that requires immense courage. It also requires solitude, vision, and a strange kind of madness, the kind that once labeled Copernicus a heretic, and Steve Jobs difficult. Elon belongs to that same lineage, not because he wants to challenge the status quo, but because he sees too clearly to obey it blindly. Consider how he approached electric vehicles. At the time Tesla was founded, the very concept of a viable mass-market electric car was a joke. The existing auto industry treated electric as either a niche novelty or an environmental guilt trip. Musk saw something radically different. He imagined sleek, powerful machines that were faster than any combustion car, smarter than most phones, and beautiful enough to make gas guzzlers look primitive. But he didn't stop at dreaming. He got to work, from battery chemistry to supply chain management. He deconstructed every element that made electric cars impossible and found better answers. His goal wasn't to improve the auto industry. It was to reinvent it. And he did. Today, every major car company scrambles to catch up with the world Tesla redefined. That's what rebuilding reality looks like, seeing the invisible, then refusing to accept impossible as anything more than a lack of imagination. Now take that same mindset and apply it to space. Space exploration was long considered a government game. Too expensive, too complex, too high stakes for any private player to touch. Musk disagreed. He believed not only that space could be democratized, but that humanity's survival depended on it. When he founded SpaceX, many saw it as a vanity project or a sci-fi dream. He saw it as a blueprint for interplanetary life. And again, he didn't just build rockets. He redefined how rockets are built. He created reusability where others saw waste, affordability where others saw ruin. Musk's brilliance lies not only in engineering but in reframing problems. He breaks them apart like Lego blocks, discards unnecessary assumptions, and recombines the pieces into systems that defy expectation. That is how new worlds are born, not just in space, but in business, in energy, in transportation, and in the mind. If you're starting to see your own world differently, don't ignore that spark. Hit like, subscribe, and drop in the comments. I see it now. Because seeing is the first step to building. Time is the great equalizer. Everyone has 24 hours a day, no matter how wealthy, talented, or connected they are. Yet some people seem to bend time to their will. Elon Musk is one of them. To outsiders, his ability to manage Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, XAI, and the boring company simultaneously appears superhuman. But Musk's mastery of time has nothing to do with multitasking. It's about leverage, focus, and ruthless prioritization. He doesn't find time. He builds systems that create time. And schools never teach this. In fact, most people grow up believing productivity means being busy, that checking tasks off a list is the same as moving forward. But Elon sees time differently. To him, time is a resource that should compound, just like money. He allocates it where the returns are exponential, ideas, decisions, people, and systems that will multiply his impact even when he's asleep. This began early in his journey. Elon adopted time blocking, scheduling his days down to 5-minute intervals, long before it became a buzzword. But more importantly, he understood the value of deep work before it had a name. While others bounce between tasks and distractions, Musk goes deep, often disappearing for hours or days to think through a single core issue. Whether it's the aerodynamics of a rocket or the architecture of Tesla's software stack, he dives into the complexity until he finds clarity. And when he emerges, the solution isn't incremental, it's transformative. This is the real secret behind multiplying time. Don't waste it on decisions with small outcomes. Focus only on what breaks barriers. Musk also builds time by empowering others. He surrounds himself with world-class engineers and thinkers, not to delegate everything, but to create an ecosystem of autonomous problem solvers. In his companies, meetings are brief, communication is direct, and bureaucracy is an enemy. Time is protected, weaponized, and honored. Yet there's a deeper layer most people miss. Elon Musk values time not just as a productivity tool, but as a philosophical anchor. He once said, "If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it." That statement reveals how he measures value, not by ease, but by meaning. He invests time in building what others are too afraid to begin. He doesn't waste it on ego battles, on media drama, or on tasks that don't scale. And this is where schools truly fail us. They teach us to manage time like employees, clock in, clock out, meet deadlines, but they don't teach us how to own time. Musk's approach is a wake-up call. Don't just spend time, multiply it. Design your life around high-impact decisions. Learn to say no. Learn to delegate. Learn to stop doing what doesn't matter. If this is challenging how you see your day-to-day life, drop a comment. I choose to multiply time. Because this shift isn't small, it's revolutionary. Every external breakthrough begins as an internal transformation. Long before Elon Musk ever launched a rocket or engineered a billion-dollar company, he did something even more difficult. He rewired his internal belief system. Most people carry a mental operating system installed by family, culture, media, and outdated institutions. We're taught to aim for safety, to follow the rules, to seek approval, and to fear failure. These scripts shape how we think, act, and limit ourselves, without us even realizing it. Elon didn't escape this programming overnight. He grew up in South Africa under a rigid school system and faced intense bullying throughout his childhood. But in those dark moments, he developed two things that would become his greatest weapons: deep introspection and the ability to question everything. He began treating his beliefs the same way an engineer treats a broken machine, not with emotion, but with logic. And that's where the real magic began. Musk started to strip away assumptions like most people strip away outdated software. If a belief didn't serve his goals, he discarded it. For instance, most people believe that only experts can solve complex problems. Musk believes that any problem can be solved if you understand it from first principles. This belief liberated him to build rockets without being a rocket scientist and to disrupt the car industry without being a traditional car guy. He also rejected the belief that failure is fatal. To him, failure is not just acceptable, it's essential. His mental framework is built on the idea that setbacks are data, not identity. That's why he can lose hundreds of millions on a failed launch and come back stronger. His self-worth isn't tied to outcomes, but to the pursuit of truth and progress. This is one of the greatest mental shifts anyone can make. Stop tying your identity to your results. Tie it to your process, your growth, and your courage to keep showing up. This reprogramming wasn't passive. It was intentional, aggressive, and ongoing. Musk surrounded himself with information, not affirmation. He read voraciously, from physics to philosophy, biographies to science fiction. Not to impress others, but to challenge his own thinking. He chose to be around people who were smarter than him, who disagreed with him, and who pushed him. He asked better questions, listened more than he spoke, and remained radically open to being wrong. Over time, this created a mental ecosystem where innovation could thrive. If you're watching this now and starting to question your own beliefs about money, success, failure, and potential, that's no accident. That discomfort you feel? That's your old programming being challenged, and that's a good thing. Hit like if you felt that shift and drop a comment. I choose to reprogram. Because the greatest limits we face aren't external. They live inside our minds, and breaking them changes everything. Most people build for success. Elon Musk builds for legacy, and that's a completely different game. Success is about personal achievement, fame, wealth, recognition. Legacy is about what you leave behind when you're gone. It's about designing the future for people you'll never meet. While the world chases short-term wins and quarterly profits, Musk has always looked beyond the horizon. His companies aren't just businesses, they're vehicles for shifting civilization itself. When he says he wants to make life multi-planetary, it's not a PR line. It's a mission anchored in survival, evolution, and destiny. This long-view mindset is rare in a world addicted to instant gratification. And yet, it's this very perspective that fuels Musk's boldest moves. He once asked a team of SpaceX engineers, "What will matter to people living in the year 2100? That question alone shows the difference between a man chasing applause and one designing eternity. Musk's obsession with the future started early. As a child, he devoured science fiction not for escape, but for inspiration. He didn't just imagine other worlds. He wanted to build them. This forward-thinking lens shaped everything he touched. When he entered the electric vehicle market, it wasn't to sell cars. It was to accelerate humanity's transition to sustainable energy. When he started Neuralink, it wasn't about profit. It was about merging human consciousness with AI before it's too late. He sees threats others ignore. And more importantly, he builds solutions others are too afraid to attempt. But building for legacy comes at a cost. Patience, misunderstanding, and often isolation. Because when you think 100 years ahead, most people will say you're crazy today. Musk embraces that. He's not building for approval, he's building for history. His timeline isn't bound by decades or lifetimes. He makes decisions based on impact, not convenience. And that's what sets him apart from 99% of entrepreneurs on Earth. But here's the most radical truth. Musk believes legacy is not reserved for the elite. Anyone, you included, can build for legacy. The moment you stop asking, "What do I want now?" and start asking, "What will I leave behind?" everything changes. Your priorities shift, your standards rise, your vision expands. That's why watching this video matters. Because if you're still here, something in you already knows that true wealth isn't in your bank account, it's in your impact. It's in the problems you choose to solve, the values you choose to live by, and the lives you choose to touch. Schools don't teach legacy. Society barely talks about it. But Musk's journey proves that legacy building is the only game worth playing. If this awakened something in you, type in the comments, "I build for legacy." And if you haven't already, subscribe now, because in the final topic we'll bring it all together, and it might just shift your life forever. At the end of every great journey, the hero returns, not as the same person, but as someone transformed. And now, so, do you? If you've followed Elon Musk's story up to this point, something within you has already shifted. Maybe it's a quiet restlessness. Maybe it's a fire you haven't felt in years. But one thing is certain. You can no longer see the world the same way. Because now you've glimpsed what's possible when a person refuses to live by default, when they question everything, when they outgrow fear and comfort, when they replace excuses with experiments. Elon Musk didn't become who he is because he's lucky or born different. He became Elon Musk because he lives by principles that most people never dare to apply. And now that you've seen behind the curtain, you have a choice. Let this just be interesting content, or let it change you. Change doesn't come from motivation alone. It comes from action. And the first action is radical honesty. Ask yourself, where in my life have I accepted less than I'm capable of? What beliefs? Am I still carrying that no longer serve me? What dream have I buried under the weight of doubt and delay? Start there. Musk always begins with the hard question, not the easy answer. He attacks assumptions like viruses in the code. You must do the same. Whether you're working a 9-to-5, building your own business, or just trying to figure out what's next, you are now armed with tools most people never receive. You understand how to multiply time, how to build from first principles, how to lead with vision instead of validation. But knowledge without movement is wasted. So, what will you build? It doesn't have to be a rocket company. Maybe it's a new habit, a business, a mission, a mindset. Start small, but start deliberately. Start today, because now the world looks different. You see opportunity where you once saw limits. You feel energy where you once felt fear. You understand that failure is a laboratory, not a life sentence. That legacy is available to anyone who has the courage to plant trees whose shade they'll never sit under. Elon Musk didn't ask permission to change the world, and neither should you. You have something powerful inside you, an idea, a vision, a voice that's been waiting for the right moment. Maybe this was it. So here's the call to action. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because this journey is just beginning. Like if you felt that deep shift, and drop a comment below. I return transformed, because you're not who you were when this video started. You've crossed the threshold, and now it's time to build, not for applause, not for likes, but for impact. Your legacy begins now,